Welcome to Write for Joy. My name's Allie Cross. I'm a USA Today bestselling author and certified life coach. I have chased joy my whole life until one day I realized I already had it. I found my joy, and now my goal is to help you find yours. Joy is all around us, so let's see if we can grab some of it for ourselves today. I'm Allie Cross, and this is Write for Joy. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Write for Joy. I am joined by my good friend, John Olsen. We could probably just laugh our way through this whole conversation. I really enjoy John, and I know you guys will too. John is an award-winning author, speculative fiction primarily, and an editor. Do you only edit in speculative fiction, John, or?
I have edited all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah, including this one might surprise you, some teen romance.
Oh, it actually doesn't really surprise me because I'm pretty sure that you could do just about anything. He loves stories about ordinary people stepping up to do extraordinary things. That is such a great encapsulation. I've read a couple of John's books, and I'd say not only is that represented in the books that I've read, but also in how I see John. John is a guy who will step up if there's stuff that needs doing. I really admire John, in case you can't tell.
The thing that makes that really hard, though, is I am actually a raging introvert on the inside. So it really does take a little effort for me to step out like that.
Beginning to think this whole introvert thing is a song we writers sing just to excuse our blatant faux pas and foot in the mouths and everything else, because we're generally awkward and stuff. But if you're an introvert, you are like the most extroverted introvert.
Take practice.
Yeah, I guess we're old, you and I, so we've had a bit of time to practice. So this is something cool, though, that I did not know about John, is that he not only loves creating and then fixing as an editor stories, but he creates physical things. He says he has dangerous power tools in a secret lair. So I'm having all sorts of Dexter's Laboratory sort of visions now.
But I do actually have show and tell. So there's this box that I made.
Is your
I like building stuff.
That's beautiful. Yeah, so like you're talking lathe work. Aren't you impressed that I remembered words all the way back from my shop days? Which I don't even know that I took shop. It might just be in my imagination.
Maybe you know somebody else who did.
Maybe. Do you ever experience that as a writer or as a person? Maybe it's not just a writer thing where you actually can't remember if it was you that experienced a thing or if you just imagined it really well.
Well, my wife, Kelly, is always asking me, she finally gave up on this, but she'd say, how do you know that when I come up with some just bizarre little tidbit of information? Yeah. And most of the time, the answer is, I don't know. It just sort of popped out of the old filing cabinet.
Good to know that filing cabinet can be useful for some things, since at least mine fails more often than it succeeds. But so good for you. So we are here, and I'm so excited to talk about joy with John because he is a generally happy guy. Or he's a really good faker. But I also know his wife, and I think that they generally are happy, but not because life has been, like I don't know why I want to say like a slip and slide. That sounds like a bad thing, but I was imagining like happy, fun, joyful times as a child. Doesn't mean that it has been super easy for them, but I think that they he and his wife, Kelly, have figured out how to do life, I think. So after setting you up now as this great man of wisdom, John Olsen, how do you define joy?
How do I define joy? I think a lot of it has to do with finding a positive outlook on things. Because the world is the way the world is, and you're going to be able to find whatever it is you're looking for in the world. And so I have put a lot of effort into looking for positive things. I've got friends all across the spectrum, politically and religiously and whatever else. And I try to have meaningful conversations and relationships with all these people, when at times I can think, well, that friend of mine and that friend of mine would not want to be in the same room. And so I try to be that kind of a mediator influence. I try to find those positive things. And I think that's one of those things that can lead to joy, is you see more of what you look for. And so that's one of the things that helps me to keep a positive attitude and to find joy in things. But beyond that, I think one of the biggest things is I find joy in creating things. And it's not just the writing, it's not just the editing, it's not just the woodworking. In general, I like to make things. And just in the past, I'd say 10 years or so, as I've become a lot more involved in the writing community, I have been building relationships. And that is a huge part of how I have interacted with other authors, as I've been able to build some relationships that just weren't there before. Meeting you and a lot of other fellow authors, it's been a wonderful experience. And so those are the kinds of things that really bring me joy.
I was thinking when John was talking, he has been the president of Utah's League of Utah Writers. So quite a large organization with a lot of subgroups and a lot of various parts and pieces. And then he was or is currently the past president. Don't ask. It's the way they do things. Kind of weird. But it works. And I can definitely see, having been a member of the league for 20 years or so, it was when John was involved that I started to get more involved, because I felt like the dynamics changed, the relationships changed. And I suspect you had a lot to do with that. So good job with that, because I think the league is doing really good work now.
Yeah, it was an interesting period of time, because I have this pocket watch that on the back of it has inscribed that I am the pandemic president.
Well, I guess that's some claim to fame. I don't know.
But it is interesting how things come out like that, because we had an opportunity to learn how to do a lot of new things. It was how we did our first online conference. And so a lot of things kind of fell into place really nicely because we adopted technology early. And so again, we looked for positive solutions and we found them. And so I think a lot of it also comes down to, how do you define success? And is it something that is actually achievable? Is it a valid goal that you can achieve? Or is it some pie in the sky dream? Like, yeah, I want to build a house out of gold bricks. Well, no, there are only a handful of authors that are able to do something like that, and I'm not one of them. But if I want to say I would love to get positive reviews from strangers, then yeah, that's a goal that I can understand and I can wrap my head around, and I can see, oh, I have done that. And so that's one of my small stepping stones of success.
I love it. So you kind of segued there on me, and I was thinking, I got to ask you now how you view success in your writing career. Do you feel that it's just anytime you get a positive review from someone who isn't a friend or family member, then you feel success in that because your book has reached strangers, which, as we all know, is extraordinary in and of itself? Or is there more to it for you?
Well, there actually is a lot to it and a lot of different aspects to it. I'm a software engineer by trade, and so I like spreadsheets and things like that. And so I've been tracking my writing income over the years, and I've been able to see the trend lines on there, and I can look at that. And that's one other aspect of that success. It's this thing where there are all these little things that all feed into what makes up the overall success. For instance, this week, by the time this airs, this will have been out for a while, but there is a anthology that I'm going to be part of that's going to be released this Friday. So if somebody actually looks it up, they can figure out when we actually recorded this. And so, yeah, this is another one of those signs of success. I got a story into an anthology that only had 4 open slots. And so I thought, hey, maybe I don't suck at this writing thing.
That looks a really awesome cover on that. I'm going to have to check that out because weirdly, one of my secret favorite genres is mech war type books. And I have no idea why. I've read a couple that just were so amazing to me. And I carry them around in the back of my mind like they were this awesome thing. So that's cool. Good for you. Good job. So the question of the day is, I feel like you've already expressed so many wonderful things, but where do you find joy in your writing? And I'm going to give you a bonus question here. Does it help sustain you through the times when writing is not so much fun? Or do you feel like you have to kind of re-up your joy quotient or something in order to stay with it? And by that, I also mean your editing work as well.
I think I approach both kind of the same way. It's just on a different time scale. I get a little bit obsessive about finishing things. And so that typing the end is a huge milestone for me. Going through and getting the edits back and processing edits from my editor, that's another milestone. Getting those things that I can say, I have accomplished this thing. I'm no longer in the middle of it. Like the short stories, I send it off and yeah, it's beyond editing now. All of those sorts of things. I really love those milestones. It's one of the things that I tell people when they are asking me about how they can get more involved in the writing community, how they can get better at storytelling and how they get better at writing. One of the things that I really advise them to do is finish something. And there's a huge bonus that goes with that for your internal feeling about yourself and the progress that you're making. There are a lot of people who start to write something and only a fraction of them will actually finish it. And so if you can finish it, that puts you already into kind of an elite club.
Mm-hmm. So if you're writing a full-on, like 100,000 word sci-fi novel, as you do you give yourself smaller milestone? Like is each chapter an accomplishment, or is it a halfway, or is it just only the end will do?
Well, actually, I tend to write by scenes and kind of group them into chapters. And so each one of those really is this nice little mini bite-sized milestone. And so it's really satisfying to hit each of those as I'm going through. Now, I'm a pretty serious outliner. And so with that, I can lay things out and I can see, okay, I'm supposed to be about at the 25% mark now. I'm supposed to have these sorts of things happening in the story because of the way story structure works. And you know all about how story structure can kind of put things in there. Yeah. And so you have all of these things where I can sit there and try to track it to see, how am I doing when I do this? Then I've got some fun toys that I use to analyze the story after I've got that first pass done, where I can evaluate the emotional content of the story over time as it goes through. And I can draw graphs of that stuff. Yeah, going back to the whole computer nerd thing.
Yeah.
So,
no, go ahead.
I just love to analyze things to see how close I came to what I started out with. And sometimes it's better. I come across some idea as I'm writing, and I think, you know what? I'm going to set aside the outline on that piece because this other thing is going to be really cool.
Yeah. And sometimes your characters do something completely unexpected and awesome, but just is different. And I love that because it is completely weird and fantastical. It's like we are living a type of magic. It feels like magic to me when the characters do that. And then I'm more than happy to adjust the outline because usually it's better. They know their own story even better than I do. What tools do you use to analyze your, especially, do you use Plotter for that or?
I haven't used Plotter. I know a lot of people that have, and they keep pressuring me saying, you ought to try this, you ought to try this. It'll do wonderful things. I've kind of seen some of the demos and things like that, but my outlines, I typically just write in Word, but then I use Scrivener for my actual writing because it gives me really good control of the chapters and scenes, rearranging things in whatever order I need to.
How do you evaluate like the emotional tone and stuff?
That is a piece of software that I paste my entire story into, and it draws a graph for me.
No. Is this like super secret software that we're not supposed to know?
Well, let's see. I might be able to, as we're talking, dig up a picture of one of the graphs or something.
You make it?
Yeah, I could probably share it with somebody, but yeah, this is one that I wrote.
Oh, dude, you could make $1 million on that. Okay, your first customer. I'll pay you in black. No, that's really, really cool. Because I mean, now with the different AI software, like pseudo write is one that I'm trying right now, and it can evaluate to some degree, but still, that's super cool that you're doing that. And I'm not at all surprised to hear that you go through quite a bit of analysis and everything. Do you do that with the works that you edit as well?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm editing something, I'll decide, how does this look in my little graphing program? And so I will put that in my notes back to the author saying, oh, look right here at the 50% mark, I can see where their emotions fell off a cliff and the world fell apart for them. That's really good timing. And so I can go through and do that kind of analysis and point out things that actually have worked well. Or I might be able to point out to them, here at this point of the story, if you emphasize the positive or the negative, it's going to give the story a better emotional curve.
Yeah, that's super cool. I want that. Make it public, please. I could just talk to you forever because I feel like you are just exuding so much happiness and satisfaction, not just with this writing work that you do, but in the act of creating and all of the various ways that you get to express yourself. Do you think that, the last question, I promise, do you think that your ability, but I think your ability came from your willingness to try things, whatever, but do you think your creating is a contributor to your general well-being and overall sense of joy? The fact that you allow yourself to create in these various aspects of your life?
Yeah, I think it really is key. It's not just, it kind of plays an influence there. It really is key.
Yeah.
Building and creating stuff is what life is about. Some people, that's their family. Some people, that's their career. Other people have hobbies that they are good at. And all of these things can play into that happiness. And so none of us are one-dimensional. The number of things that you find joy in, the more, the better.
Awesome. That is amazing. Thank you so much, John. I feel like you've already given such great words of advice and wisdom, but is there anything before we go, anything that you would like to share with the listeners about you or your books or anything at all? The floor is yours.
If you give me just about 15 seconds here. There we go.
Her emotional tracking graph thingy.
Yeah. And so I can change the resolution of the graph by clicking around here and telling it how many words it's supposed to put in there in the middle. So you can see right here in the middle of my story, I can scoot out of the way. I've got this really low spike.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. I actually hadn't loaded this into this analysis tool before. And then back here toward the end, right behind me again. Oh, whoa, there's the man behind the curtain. And
like
so over here on the other side, you can see I do the same thing. I've got this spike.
Yeah. So I assume that means that these are like where things have fallen apart.
Right. Yeah, that's where you have the doom and despair of the story before the triumph.
Yeah, that is very...
I have fun with it.
Well, I would also love to have fun with it. So if you ever do decide to share, let us know. It's really not a surprise to me that you have something like that, because I do really think your books are so well put together. So I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of you, John. Thank you for this awesome conversation and for just being you. You are a truly great and fun guy. I encourage everyone to check out John's work. Oh, click, like surprise.
I do have
a few little covers coming up.
This is the first in my science fiction series.
Nice. So check out John's work and hire him as an editor. Become his best friend, because you will not be sorry. So
now you've set all these super high expectations that I have to live up to.
Hey, I'm just giving you more milestones to work toward.
That's been great talking with you, Allie.
Thanks, John. And everybody, please go and grab yourself some of this joy. It is worth having in your life and makes life so much more fun to live. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.